I think it's starting. I'm waiting for it to show up on... Yeah, there it is. It is starting. Cool. I'm still new to this whole streaming thing, so the technology sometimes seems a little arcane to me. Alright, so I'm working on a 4-page comic right now for Limit Break Comics. The deadline is today. I can get it done in time. But I still have a lot of work to do, but I can get it done in time. I've done all the inking. The lettering is all done except for the dialogue bubbles. It's currently invisible. You can't see it. So really, I just got to tone and color this thing. It's only 4 pages. The second 2 pages are a big 2-page spread. My client is in Ireland, so they are actually 6 hours ahead of me. So hopefully they weren't planning on going to print today. No, today is just the deadline for the comics done with the first lettering pass, which would mean all art finished and then a pass on lettering, so that they can then review that and decide if they need any changes to it before it all goes into the Wish Upon a Star anthology, which succeeded on Kickstarter sometime last year and should be going into print sometime in 2025. I will occasionally look at the camera and freak you out. Otherwise, I should be staring at this and trying to get as much done as possible. So, here we go! Oh, and thanks for coming to watch me do this. I don't know how much talking I'm going to do today, because I do have a lot that I need to get done here. I do my gray tones on... Oh, and if you got any questions or anything, drop them in the chat. I will be checking on the chat. And of course, you see I've got a tip button now down at the bottom of the screen there, so if you wanted to show your appreciation that way. So when I do tone, I do 2 layers, typically. 2 20% opacity layers, with the one on top, of course, adding up to a 40% opacity layer. In a full color comic like this, I'm probably going to play with the tone colors at some point, but I do just want to get them all laid in first. The log line for this comic is, the anthology this is going into is called Wish Upon a Star. And the theme is far future takes on fairy tales. Mine is based on Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, or just the general Wonderland mythos. I don't have a specific, so I've only had 4 pages to do this with, so I couldn't really tackle the entire tale. And I'm not even sure that I would consider that to be a fairy tale, but Limit Break was really looking for somebody to do Alice in Wonderland, and I did a pretty cool interview with Paul from Limit Break on his podcast about this. And we were talking about the pitching process for Wish Upon a Star. And what he told me was that they because I'd worked with them before, but he said that they don't look at any of the names on the pitches as they're choosing them. They only look at the log line and the pitch, and then they find out what creators submitted it after that. So they didn't know it was me. And the reason that I submitted Alice in Wonderland, because I actually submitted a couple of different pitches, but the reason I submitted this one was because they had been vocal several times about, like, we really want somebody to do Alice in Wonderland. Nobody's done Alice in Wonderland. So I said, Al, I'm just going to pitch that. And sure enough. But yeah, I pitched Alice in Wonderland meets Event Horizon. So if you know what both of those things are, then it's like a sci-fi horror thing. I really would like to get into doing more horror comics and stuff, and waiting for somebody to come and hire me to do a full-length one. So, in the meantime... One of the characters here is obviously Alice Little, and this guy whose face I'm working on right here is loosely visually based on Lewis Carroll. Now, I only looked at that reference photo once when I did this pencil for this several months ago, so I'm not sure how much of that actually carried into the final product, but I'm also not sure there's that many people out there who know what Lewis Carroll looks like on sight. I'm not sure how long the stream's going to go today. You know, ideally, I would actually want to just finish this in one sitting. That could take 3-4 hours, so I don't know. We'll see. It might actually also take considerably longer than that. I do have a tendency to think that things aren't going to take as long as they do. Alright, so we're going on kind of like a... We're using the color wheel here, right? Your opposing colors make for that nice contrast. So, purples and greens. Also, evil colors. We want to create an ominous atmosphere. Typically, you want to go dark to light. The idea here being that the room itself is green, but that the characters are kind of being bathed in this violet light that's coming out of the portal there. I'd love to leave these really bright RGB colors here, but this is going to be printed, so that's not going to carry. So we do need to tone it down a little. Even that's not going to look right. The green is the problem here. That's better. If you use green as its own tone, if you just pick out, the green, you get like an RGB green, which gives you that really nice, bright, punchy, vibrant, great for screens kind of look. But for printing, everything prints in CMYK, so you need to make sure you're working in that color profile. So I do that by actually have a C, an M, a Y, a cyan, a magenta, and a yellow up top, and I'll just mix my own colors. So I mix a green out of that. That'll print fine. All good to go. And I really should do that for the background as well, because I just slapped down a nice bright green because that's what I wanted, but we got to make sure that it prints. So it ends up being a little bit more yellow, but it still looks pretty evil. So this engine room, this kind of, well, I think I've got some evil purple energy up top that I need to turn back on. There's my evil purple energy. Ooh, I might have erased that. How foolish of me. Unless this is it. Looks like I did. Yeah, you'll get that line eventually. We'll be back for all this purple stuff. We're just laying in a flat tone right now. That's going to get all kinds of highlights and glow and stuff later on. All right. I had the heating pad on because my shoulder was bothering me, but honestly, I think it's making it worse. It's going to snow tomorrow where I am, so that means that every joint problem I've ever had is making itself known. So what I'm doing with this is roughly, it's not exactly monochrome, but it's like duochrome. Oh, hi, Karina. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. Anyways, like I was saying, what I'm doing is not really a monochrome. It's kind of like a duochrome, but again, not quite. But I'm not gonna try to do like true skin tones or anything. We're just lightening in certain places, darkening in others. And actually, if we take these shadows, just make them purple. Yeah, that's good. I don't want them to have exactly the same skin tone, but I am going to flat it in like that just for now, and I'll tweak it. I'll try to use the magic select where I can to spare my shoulder. Magic Wand never gets it perfect. There's always holes, there's always gaps, but it is still usually a lot faster to drop in what you can, and then go back and touch it up by hand. And it prevents me from having to put, you know, pressure on the grip of the pen, pressure down on the thing, ergonomics. Live to fight another day on this comics thing. So now we can also do this to tweak the skin tones a little bit. If I select everything on this layer, and then I just get rid of Alice. We can throw a little bit of yellow onto Mr. Carroll's palette. I might actually want to darken Alice a little bit, but or lighten. We'll wait till the highlight portion because sometimes it's difficult for me to get a good idea of the contrasts. So I have the little tip button up and going now. Basically, my plan for streaming is I'm going to be streaming, whatever it is that I happen to be working on the day that I'm streaming. Usually, it's going to be comic stuff. Sometimes it's going to be illustration stuff. But more often than not, it's going to be whatever comic I happen to be doing. So basically, tips and donations are going to go towards funding special streams. Maybe they'll be involving audience votes and things like that in the future. But the first one is for Soul Calibur. So if you're a fan of that game like I am, put a couple dollars towards that. All right. Let's give everybody eyeballs. His hair shouldn't be purple, probably. Even though I do kind of like the way that it looks. Yeah, maybe I'll leave it. Nah, I can't have his hair be the same color as the portal. That just doesn't work to me narratively. Yeah, that's better. take a layer of all one color, like that violet, pull it up top, and turn it on to hue, turn the opacity down to, I don't know, 3/4 to 50%, depending on what I'm doing. Kind of pulls a nice cohesion over everything without having to think about it. This isn't even the fun page. The fun page is this one. That's the fun page. We'll get to that hopefully soon. Anthology comics like this are interesting to do because it's like you have a very big idea and everybody's really excited about the very big idea. And I have literally 4 pages to do it. So it's like there's no fat on this one. It's all got to be cut off. Get in, get out. Okay, so we got to do highlights on this giant machine, and on the individual faces. I want to give eye color to people. I want her eyes to pop out at you. Again, we're relying on the color wheel and kind of the opposites. So green and violet. You may also be familiar with the with blorange. That's a very common one that gets used in a lot of movie posters and stuff. Highlight now. If you're just joining us and you have no idea what I'm doing, feel free to ask any questions. The short version is I have 4 pages that are due today, and I figured, why not get a stream out of that? That's not how any of that works. That's better. Not much, but oops. Hydrate. I also need to stretch my shoulder, which is like... I've been working a lot of long hours lately, which is probably not advisable, but it kind of comes with the territory. Usually I try to take the weekends off. That didn't pan out this week. So I am kind of overdue for some physical recovery. If I really start hurting, I will have to stop. Ah, yeah, yes. Yes. That's the business. I like very saturated colors. You know, if you are someone who knows like my work at all and knows what I do, if you've read Mario Cure Destroy the Moon, which, hey, Mario Cure Destroy the Moon, new pages are coming on January 31st. Tune into streams next week. I'll definitely be working on them. Get a little behind the scenes action going on there. But yeah, you know, big bright colors. I just like the way it looks. And it's the kind of thing that not a whole lot of artists do it. A lot of artists do, but like not in sequentials necessarily. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's something that kind of makes me a little bit unique, and I need to be unique. I got on a list of excellent colorists for 2024. I don't know if you're at all familiar with an indie review site called Comic Book Yeti. That's a really cool indie comic review website, and they do like their own little awards show every year. And this year I was named an excellent colorist. So I figured to myself, hey, I'm gonna be doing something right. I am really not, you see this monstrosity in the center of the page here. I'm not looking forward to highlighting that. But it is like the next thing I need to do, so. Also, don't let me forget that Alice is supposed to have a bow, and it's like neon, and I'm going to paint it in on top of the ink layer, and I can't forget it. So if I try to move off this page without doing that, yell at me. Oh, right. Cool. Alright, this needs to be different. Neat. All right. So here's the things that need to happen on this page for me to get this done. I got to highlight on the device. And I actually think I may have thought of a faster way to do that than what I was thinking previously. Or at least a faster way to get started. You know, anthology page rates are not high. So it's like I can't necessarily spend as much time on these pages as I would want to get everything, like, you know, exactly perfect the way that I want it. But by the same token, I have a certain amount of professional pride that will not let me phone it in. So I gotta find a happy medium between working for less than minimum wage and doing a really bad job. But, you know, it's like if we can, at the very least, like, use some gradients to kind of just pop that out from the background a little bit. You know, I was thinking this needs to brighten at the center, but actually if it was to darken at the center, it might be easier to see. Yes. As a matter of fact, turns out that was the thing I needed to do all along. Cool. All right. That's helpful. And it also means that I can crank this up and then nope, not sold on that. All right. Still looks pretty evil. Okay, that definitely needs to be in place, and it needs to get darker around the edges. I'm not a huge fan of soft light, soft edges. Unfortunately, soft edges and soft light are way faster to do than hard. As per usual, I am don't allow myself to do it the easy way. But hey, that's what's part of the fun. This looks pretty good. I like this. Okay. I will be highlighting this big thing in the center pretty soon. But first, I don't know if everybody has seen the classic Paul W.S. Anderson sci-fi horror feature Event Horizon. I consider it to be a touchstone. I'm not sure anybody else does. That movie's fantastic. So the short version is Sam Neill of Jurassic Park fame, builds a spaceship that goes to hell. And it has a really weird, evil-looking engine room that I have had some fun with for this comic. And it's the kind of thing where it's like the twist is that the engine is evil and takes you to hell. But the real funny part is that, like, how did anybody get fooled by this thing? Because it looks like an evil engine that takes you to hell. And it's got all kinds of spikes, kind of like these spikes that I have put in here. Nifty. Okay, we're really almost done on this one. There's two things that I need to do. They're still fairly large things, I guess. We need to highlight the actual machine, then we need to do all the purple energy coming out of it. I'm getting pretty jazzed, though, because it's coming along, and then we can get to the fun page. This one. This is the fun page. Actually, I'm going to do the purple energy first. No, I'm going to do the highlights first. It's like I don't wanna, but I'm gonna. When you're doing highlights, thing typically you're remembering is where your light source is. Mine's right in the center of the page. I don't get too hung up on light sources a lot. You know, there's a lot of schools of thought when it comes to making comics. I have said many times that I'm an admirer of the late, great Wally Wood, Wally Wood's approach to comics was, they don't pay me enough to do this. So he was all about, like, building efficiency and finding shortcuts and doing, you know, cool things that would speed up your flow and your workflow and allow you to keep your sanity. And he was a real hell of a cartoonist. Somebody else who is big into that kind of thing is my friend and colleague Lukasz Kowalczyk, who is an incredible cartoonist out of Poland. And I don't swear on my streams, but he is produced one of my favorite quotes, which is "F a light source." Basically, the idea being that don't waste time thinking about the nitty-gritty details. It's much more important to get your broad strokes. It's much more important to hit your highlights, hit your key art, than it is to be, you know, worrying about where the light source is in every single panel that you do. Now, if I was getting paid $1,000 a page, I would absolutely, every single one of them would be museum quality, hanging on the wall. So that's why you see, I spend a lot more time on that kind of stuff in my covers and my illustrations. Interior sequentials, you got to strike a balance between, economy of work and quality. The idea is to have designs that read really well in a simple state, so that you can draw them simply and not have to necessarily worry about doing really detailed illustrations every time. There's a lot of examples, I feel, in manga of people who have like really mastered that. I talk all the time about how Ichiro Oda is like the best character designer for that kind of thing. And I still think that like every One Piece design is so like unique and simple and easily readable. I started reading really briefly and really casually. Shonen Jump started running a series on the app that was called like I think it's called Wanted, Ichiro Oda before One Piece. And I read a little bit of it, and it did not enthrall me in the way that I thought it would. I'm a big Oda fan, and maybe I should say I'm a big One Piece fan, and I thought that meant I was a big Oda fan, but I'm definitely going to go back and give it another shot. I was tired when I first started reading it, and that sometimes can negatively impact the experience. Generally speaking, we want this thing to look evil. That's like my most important thing here is the big evil machine. Why would you ever turn on the big evil machine? How can I pop this? If I bring it all the way to the top. No, that's too far. Yeah, that's pretty good. The problem is that the green and the purple mix to make brown, which is not the vibe. The blue should work on both of them. Pretty good. Okay, cool. Purple. So these lines need to come from a center point, not from the edges. We're radiating out from a center point. Which is here. Cool. I don't want this yellow to be too bright because I don't want to pull focus from the violet energy. That might do it. I want a couple more, like, briefly riffing on the Kirby crackle here. All right. That's pretty good. Oh. So the comic I'm working on right now is for an anthology that's being published by an Irish publisher called Limit Break Comics. The anthology is called Wish Upon a Star. It funded on Kickstarter sometime last year. I'm not really sure how you go about getting a copy other than having supported that Kickstarter. I will have to ask the fine folks at Limit Break. Because it would be really unfortunate to like do a thing and be like, yeah, I'm working on this cool comic and you can't buy it. It's too late. Of course, it's just a work for hire job for me, so it's not like I get more money if the book does well. but I'd still like it to do well because you know, Limit Break is, they've been pretty good to me, and they make cool comics. And boy, they put in the work to get this one off the ground, let me tell you. Alright. I think that'll do her for this. Let's take a look at what it looks like with the lettering. Incomprehensible. Alright, let's have fun with lettering real quick. Oh, right, all those are terrible. Let's see. I lost my, here it is. Clip Studio's got decent lettering tools that I don't use. It's not that I dislike them, I guess. It's just that I feel like I can do a better job. I'm actually not going to do dialogue bubbles right now because that is not as cool to stream as other parts of this process. And I'll come back and do them later when I'm not on stream. Alright, this page's done. Oh, no it's not. I'm very disappointed in you, chat. You did not yell at me for not putting the bow on. Oh, good lord. I need to get rid of this, but I don't know where it is exactly. There it is. I'm a chaotic layer user. I'm a menace. I'm not 100% on that. Need some more thought put into it, but we'll come back. Okay, here's a doozy. Couple of things on this one. There's a freaky walrus thing I need to put in here. And that might come later. Alright. We haven't got time! We're on a deadline. Oh, right. I gave everything a background on this. Alright. I can fix that. If you mark a folder as linear burn, take it to the top, everything inside of it will become a linear burn layer. There's a lot of things on this page. And I've made them in such a fashion that they float a little bit. So like I can make Cheshire Cat disappear. I can make I can get rid of Alice. I can get rid of Alice so I can work on the background. Because I need to tone first. Luckily, I already captured a lot of flats on this, so... Basically, there's Cheshire Cat, and there's everybody else. Kind of a really confusing page with a lot of stuff going on. So, just do what I can to maintain focus. Now this is a real F of Light source page, because just forget about it. First of all, it's a mystical hell dimension, so who cares where the light is coming from? I'm getting too fiddly in there. Brush too big, lines too small. But I refuse to use a smaller brush because it'd be too slow. Basically, we just want to put on levels of contrast here that will add to the moodiness and the creepiness, and that's the general goal. So we'll hit kind of some smaller highlights. We'll let a lot of things sit further in shadow. Using the shadow, a lot of these cases, to separate the ideas from each other. By which I mean we have a lot of figures on the page, so we want to make sure that we're coloring and toning in such a fashion that we can tell them apart. Or like this guy goes way back and way down, so he's going to be more in shadow the further down he goes. We can accomplish that fairly quickly. Doing a little bit of masking and a little bit of modestly precise brushwork. Even with my giant circle. Mask takes care of most of this. Lucky for me, I set a lot of this stuff up ahead of time. In terms of having easily maskable grabs and etc., etc., etc. Well, that's unfortunate. Too much, too much. Nice. Talked a little bit about, using the gray tones to delineate the figures a little bit better. General rule of thumb is that you don't want two of the same color touching each other when you have two different figures standing next to each other. And there's plenty of ways to work within the boundaries of the lighting or whatever that you set up and still keep that delineation. Nice. when I'm coloring, I spend a lot of time on tone. You know, the more time you spend on previous step in the process, the less time you have to spend on the next step. That's typically how it goes. So if I spend a lot of time doing tone and making sure that something looks good in black and white and looks good in grayscale, which you should always do, then really I just have to drop flats in after that, and I'm good to go. Flats and highlights, you know. This is really unfortunate. I don't know how much shoulder I have left today, which sucks. Because I really need to get this done. This is not a business where playing through the pain is a good idea. I think I just need to adjust my posture a bit. This feels better, actually. For the moment, anyways. You know, I have cool artists that I follow who do really awesome work, and I've seen them, you know, put up things like, "Hey, you know, my such and such was hurt." I'm specifically thinking about shoulders today because the case that I'm thinking of was somebody who had a lot of like shoulder pain and fought through it, kept drawing. And ended up separating their shoulder, and was just, you know, can't draw 6 months. Like, whoa, I don't want that to happen to me. I would way rather, you know, take a day off here and there than be out of the game for 6 months. And it's like, I'm a freelancer. If I have 6 months where I can't work, I just don't get paid during that time. Not a good look. I'm very lucky. The people that I work with are usually very understanding, and if I ever tell them, like, hey, you know, I need to take a day off, and I'm almost never late on anything. I joke around with this stream being like, oh my god, I have to make sure that I finish this in time. And honestly, even if I have to slow way down and take special care of my my needy joints, I'm still gonna finish it in time. If I was actually worried about whether or not I would get this done in time, I wouldn't have done a stream of it. I would have just sat in a closet and finished it. Proverbial closet. Mind closet. Sometimes you just gotta lock in and do it in the mind closet. I hope you're all into my my freaky cosmic horror thing that I'm trying to do here. Come to think about it, the other comic that I did for Limit Break was also a cosmic horror comic. It was called The Doom That Came to Midgard. It was about Ragnarok. I got to draw a giant space wolf that ate the sun. That actually didn't take as much time as I thought it would. Always a bonus. Nope, that ain't it, Chief. Okay, Cheshire. What are we doing with you? I'm not 100%. Most of the reference pictures I used for this were actually of Cheshire Cat. It looks kind of like Ryuk, though. Which, that's cool. I think that just kind of leaked in. I'm always thinking at least a little bit about Death Note. I reread Death Note recently. And immediately after rereading Death Note, I was like, I should rewatch Death Note, which I haven't done yet, so I should do that. But I got other things that I need to watch and / read. I'm almost caught up on Sakamoto Days. I think I got like 3 or 4 chapters left. And I believe the next thing I said I was going to read was Hunter x Hunter, which is probably still true. The other thing that I've been reading on release day is Bug Ego, which is fantastic. I love One. I like One Punch Man. I like old One Punch Man. I still like One Punch Man. One Punch Man's weird. They could do a whole stream where I tell you about what I think about One Punch Man. I won't waste your time with that now. Mob Psycho is gold from wall to wall. Bug Ego is really good though, because it's right up my alley. It's One doing, a liminal horror comic, so I'm into it. Love this liminal stuff. I had an idea for a new comic, and I'm working on Mario Hero right now, and that's always going to be first priority for my personal projects until that series is finished, and we're ways off from that. But in the event that I somehow find myself with extra time, there is a new project that I'm thinking about, and it is a horror. It is a horror project. Potentially, I will make that a coffee funding goal. If I can get the Soul Calibur stream funded. We're 18% there. I only want $200 for that. If you want to hear me spin a yarn about some early 2000s nostalgia, that's the one. But the reason I want to do a horror comic, there's a couple of reasons, but the one, I want to get more into doing horror comics. That's like the primary thing. But I also am looking for an opportunity to draw like more modern fashion stuff, and I feel like that is a really good vehicle for that. One of my favorite, obviously, I love everything Junji Ito does. I won't even bother talking about that for the most part, because I feel like I'm not super unique in that regard. And I always blank on the mangaka's name, but the other than like all my Junji Ito comics, my favorite horror manga is PTSD Radio, which is unfinished and will never be finished. The mangaka has left the industry. But there's like a really interesting story about that actual real life production being cursed. That's pretty interesting and fascinating. So if you're into horror and you're looking for something different, check that out. It is as complete as it's going to be, which is too bad, because it was really, really good. Alright, freak. Freak with a positive connotation. Those are really all connected like that. Well, that is useful to me. Nope. There we go. Yeah, this is going in the direction that I want it to. Where's Alice? There she is. Alice is having a bad day. We're gonna need to do some things to make her stand out from this very complex background. And there's some simple solutions that we can do. The easiest one, honestly, is to take a layer behind this backing layer that I've got for her, this flat, and grab my spray can and literally just do, something like this. But because I have linear burn on, that's not going to do exactly what I need it to. So what I really should do, grab, go over here, and then where's Alice? There's Alice. Make Alice her own thing entirely. Then we can do what I'm talking about. So that's like the easiest thing to do. But I don't know if it's the best looking thing to do. Actually, just kind of throwing it down like this does not look as bad as I thought it was going to. So, I don't know. It might be this. We'll see. I need to fix some of my errors. There we go. That's the one thing about horror comics. It's like you take these characters and it's like you enjoy the character designs you make, and then I had this problem with other comics that I do. It's like I don't want bad things to happen to my characters. I like them. But when you're working on horror, typically people need to have a bad day. So sorry, kiddo. Them's the breaks. You know, I guess there's a couple different kinds of horror that you can play with, and one being, of course, the horror of bad things happening to good people, and then sort of the more voyeuristic horror of bad people getting what they deserve. This should really be black. It's her hair would cover this gap. I am gonna cut the stream at 2:30. Just because I feel like 2 hours is a pretty good amount of time to do a stream. And maybe we'll do some longer ones coming up, but I'm still figuring out how all this works. But that still gives us 19 minutes together. So, of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know where the chat is. And last chance to drop tips in the coffee page as well. So. I got this widget on there that's supposed to ding when somebody makes a dono. I have no idea if it works or not, so. Nope. Huh. Breaking news. I've just been informed that the TikTok ban has been extended 90 days. I guess I better keep uploading things to TikTok. My link tree is in the description of the stream / video, whatever you want to call it. And my TikTok is on that link tree. So if you want to follow me there, it's 100% art time lapses. That's pretty much all I do over there. I really do want to make some like tutorial videos and stuff, but I just have not had the time to sit down and record anything like that. So if there are specific things that you are interested in about my process and want to know more about like what I do or how I do it, you can always let me know. Shoot me an email or drop me a DM or comment or whatever. and I can potentially make a video explaining something in detail. Oh no, that ain't gonna work. I should turn the spiral back on so we can see what that looks like with this. Pretty cool. Definitely gonna have to do something like that. I'll figure it out. Highly informative stuff. You can see on the sidebar here that the page that we already did today, page we're working on right now, the final one that I'm going to have to do. The final one's probably actually going to be the simplest one to do, so it's all going to get cleaned up in short order. Let's go back to Alice. When I'm doing pages, I typically think about, for comics that I write anyways, because you know, there's plenty of comics that I do for other writers where they have different ideas of how a comic should be constructed. And in those cases, it's my job to realize the writer's vision. And, you know, I add my own personal touches, and I add my own commentary, and I check to make sure that, you know, hey, what if we did this instead? But when I'm making my own comics, I try to build around like a central set piece for an issue. So for this one, it was, you know, this down the rabbit hole horror thing in the center. We wanted the big 2-page spread of her falling down through the portal and seeing all the freaky stuff around her. And I love a good 2-page splash. That's part of the reason that I am so enamored with the traditional page format, and I haven't really dipped my toes too much into the vertical scroll, is because I love doing the big 2-page splash. So maybe I need to get over that. Sometimes I talk about how I draw with a sledgehammer. I tend to use a very large brush head because I like to focus on, you know, the pressure sensitivity. and a lot of times that results in me hitting some really heavy, bludgeoning lines. I'm really going to need to find a new music track to play. On my streams. I should just record myself a little lo-fi album and use that. Something that's like, I don't know, 40 minutes long. That way I have to listen to the loop a couple of times instead of 700. It is pretty chill, though. Okay. I will find a way to show this off when I actually finish it. See, the easiest way to get your hands on it would probably be to head over to the Limit Break Comics website and figure out how to buy a copy of the anthology. I'm just one contributor out of, I think, boy, I think 18 or 20 teams, something like that. Really good stuff. So definitely encourage you to give that a look and see if you could get yourself a copy. Of course, if you backed the book, you'll get one, and thank you for backing it. More severe shadows add to the horror. This is really coming together. I go through this process every time I make a comic where it's like you start out really strong and you're like, this is great. This is going to be the best thing I've ever done. And then somewhere in the middle point, you're always just like, this is not coming out the way I wanted it to. This does not look like it did in my mind palace. And then you start to reach a point where it's like, actually, turns out I just needed to work the process. That's just how it goes. I am going to finish this up today. Like I said, I'm on deadline, so I really don't have a choice. If you want to come hang out next week, nope. If you want to come hang out next week, I'm going to be working on Marukiru. And that's really coming together too. So the sketches, at least, I have to do a lot of pencils for it still. I probably won't do pencils on stream, but I'll definitely work on some of the pages for inks and colors. Having a lot of fun with that, so hopefully you'll join me for that next week. Probably streaming on Tuesday and Thursday. We shall see. Sometime in the future, I will develop something of a more consistent streaming schedule. That day is not today. But I really want to thank you for being with me today. A couple of you stick around for pretty much the whole time, so thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I hope you got something out of it. If you have questions, of course, you can always shoot me a DM or shoot me a comment on something, or I think my email address is pretty rarely available. Comics questions, commissions questions, etc., etc. I'm always available and always happy to talk about it. But that's going to be it for today, and we will see you next time. All right, have a great one. Thanks.